Welcome back to New Auto Cars, the channel where we bring you the most surprising, shocking, and eye-opening updates from the automotive world. If you love cars, SUVs, new technology, hidden industry news, and the truth behind the biggest changes coming to the auto market, then make sure you stick around because today's video is going to catch so many drivers off guard. This is one of the most important videos we've ever made, because we're talking about something that many people still don't believe is real. SUVs that may be banned, restricted, or prevented from being sold in 2026. Yes, you heard that correctly. Several states, several governments globally, and even multiple automakers have already announced plans that will result in certain petrol and diesel SUVs disappearing from showrooms, some being blocked from registration, and others losing legal road approval unless major changes are made. And the shocking part is that the average SUV owner still has no idea what's about to happen. So today we're diving into the SUVs that could be banned or heavily restricted by 2026, the government regulations behind these decisions, the prices of the vehicles involved, and everything car owners need to prepare for so you don't get blindsided. Before jumping into the list, you need to understand why these bans are happening. It's not just about the environment. It's not just about emissions. It's also about new safety rules, changes in manufacturing laws, and new global fuel standards. And because SUVs tend to be heavier, more powerful, and consume more fuel, they are the first to face restrictions. Some of these changes are coming from the United States. Some are coming from Europe. Some are coming from Asia. And others are being forced on automakers by new corporate rules that require companies to reduce average emissions across their entire lineup. So if a certain SUV model produces too much CO2, too much nitrogen oxide, or doesn't meet new safety requirements, companies must either update it or kill it. And many carmakers have already decided that killing them is cheaper. So let's start with the SUVs that face the highest chance of being banned or discontinued by the year 2026, including their price ranges. First, we need to talk about one of the biggest names in the SUV world, the Jeep Grand Cherokee V8. The classic 5.7-liter Hemi V8 is already under pressure, and Jeep has officially confirmed that the V8 versions are being phased out across multiple markets. In the United States, the emissions regulations for large V8 SUVs are getting tighter, and several states including California, New York, and Washington are implementing aggressive rules that may block high-emission SUVs from being registered after 2026. The current price of the Grand Cherokee L or standard Grand Cherokee with the V8 ranges from around $55,000 to $72,000 depending on the trim. The reason this SUV may be banned or restricted is its emission output. The V8 is one of the last big gas engines left in the segment, and studies show that it produces significantly more CO2 than the average allowed in future regulations. Jeep will continue selling the model but only with smaller engines or hybrid powertrains. So yes, the Grand Cherokee V8 as we know it is almost guaranteed to be gone by 2026. Next up is one of the largest SUVs ever made, the Chevrolet Suburban 5.3 and 6.2 V8. This SUV is iconic, it's powerful, it's spacious, and it's also on the radar of emissions regulators worldwide. The Suburban, especially the 6.2-liter version, has one of the highest fuel consumption ratings in its class, and that places it at the top of the list for potential restrictions. In some countries, luxury SUVs of this size are already losing approval because of weight and fuel usage. In the United States, GM has already confirmed plans to electrify the Suburban lineup. The gas versions will still be sold until regulations make it impossible. But after 2026, it's unclear if they will remain legal in certain regions. The current price for the Suburban starts around $59,000 and can reach up to $90,000 for fully loaded trims. If you want a big gas SUV like this, 2025 may be the last full year to get one without restriction. Now let's move to one of the most surprising SUVs on this list, because most people don't expect this one, the Toyota Land Cruiser 200 and certain trims of the Toyota Land Cruiser 300. The 200 series has already been discontinued globally because of emissions pressure. The older V8 diesel and V8 petrol simply do not meet new standards. Even the 300 series with the twin-turbo V6 is now being regulated in parts of Europe and the Middle East. By 2026, several regions will stop allowing the registration of high-emission diesel SUVs, which includes many Land Cruiser variants. Prices for the Land Cruiser range from about $55,000 to over $90,000 depending on the region. Toyota is already pushing hybrid versions because diesel bans are coming faster than people realize. That means many popular diesel SUVs are at risk of disappearing completely in just 2 years. Speaking of diesels, one of the most affected brands is Land Rover. The Land Rover Defender Diesel, the Discovery Diesel, and even certain diesel Range Rover models face high chances of being banned by 2026 in many markets. Some cities in Europe have already implemented diesel exclusion zones. The Defender Diesel, which costs between $65,000 and $100,000 depending on trim, has already lost road approval in several European cities. And starting in 2026, more cities will join the ban list. This will make it nearly impossible for diesel SUV owners to enter major areas. In the US, diesel isn't banned yet, but because automakers have to meet fleet emissions targets, many diesel versions are expected to be discontinued anyway. Land Rover has already announced a shift toward hybrid and fully electric drivetrains. So if you are planning to get a diesel Defender or Range Rover, be aware that you may not be able to drive it everywhere in the next few years. Let's talk about an American favorite, the Dodge Durango V8. This SUV shares DNA with muscle cars, especially models using the 5.7 and 6.4 Hemi engines. Unfortunately, these powerful engines also make the Durango one of the highest emission SUVs in its class. In 2026, new U.S. emissions restrictions for large displacement engines will go into effect, and this directly impacts the Durango. Dodge has already announced a shift to hybrid and EV platforms. Even the Charger and Challenger have said goodbye to the Hemi. This means Durango's days with a large gas engine are numbered. Current pricing starts around $39,000 for base models and goes up to around $70,000 for the V8 versions. It may technically remain on sale, but expect states like California to block V8 registrations after 2026 unless the vehicle undergoes major engineering updates. Another SUV facing likely restriction is the Nissan Armada, one of the last big V8 Japanese SUVs. With a 5.6-liter engine and a curb weight of over 6,000 pounds, the Armada is a target in every new emission report. Nissan has already confirmed that the next generation of the Armada will be a hybrid or electric SUV. The current version, which costs between $55,000 and $75,000, may not survive past 2026 in its current form. Many markets outside the US have already banned the V8 variants because they no longer pass emissions tests. Nissan knows this is coming, which is why they are already redesigning the lineup. If you want to own a V8 Armada, the window is closing. Let's shift to Germany, where some surprising SUVs are being discontinued earlier than expected. The BMW X5 and X7 V8 versions face huge emissions penalties. Models like the X5 M50i or the X7 M60i produce high levels of CO2, and BMW must reduce overall fleet emissions to avoid billion-dollar fines. Because of this, BMW has already announced that certain V8 models will be removed from European markets by 2026. In the United States, they may continue longer, but if federal standards tighten, the V8 versions could also disappear. Current prices for these models range from around $85,000 to $120,000. BMW is pushing mild hybrids and full electric SUVs to replace high-emission models. It's clear that the V8 era is ending fast. Another SUV that could be banned in several regions is the Ford Expedition, especially the non-hybrid versions. Emissions regulators in multiple states have flagged the Expedition for high CO2 output. Although the Expedition uses a twin-turbo V6 instead of a V8, the sheer size and weight still make it a high-emission vehicle. Ford has confirmed that hybrid and electric versions are coming, and the gasoline variant may be heavily reduced by 2026. With prices between $55,000 and $85,000, this is one of the most important SUVs in the US, but also one of the most at risk due to new laws affecting large internal combustion SUVs. We also need to talk about diesel SUVs from Asian manufacturers, like the Mitsubishi Pajero Sport, also known as Montero Sport. Many countries have already banned older diesel engines that don't meet Euro 6D standards. By 2026, even newer diesels may lose approval. The Pajero Sport, which costs around $35,000 to $50,000 depending on trim, may face discontinuation in multiple countries by 2026. Mitsubishi has already ended production of the classic Pajero SUV, and many analysts believe the Pajero Sport may be next. Then there is the Ford Bronco V6. The Bronco is iconic, fun, and extremely popular, but also very fuel-hungry. New emissions rules in Europe have already banned it completely. In the US, the Bronco will need hybrid options to survive beyond 2026. The price of the Bronco ranges from $39,000 to $70,000. Ford is now preparing hybrid and electric variants because they know gas-only SUVs will struggle under upcoming regulations. Let's discuss the Toyota Sequoia, one of the biggest SUVs Toyota makes. Toyota already replaced the V8 with a twin-turbo hybrid V6 for emissions reasons. Even with that change, several markets still restrict it because of weight classifications. By 2026, further restrictions could come. Prices are between $60,000 and $80,000. The Sequoia is safe for now, but only because Toyota made major engine changes. Without them, this SUV would have already been banned. Another SUV under pressure is the Lexus LX 570 and LX 600. Luxurious, powerful, and massive, but also high emission. Lexus has already discontinued the LX 570 in many countries because regulations made it impossible to sell. The current LX 600, with a price starting around $92,000, is also facing emission restrictions that may hit by 2026. Lexus is preparing hybrid versions to avoid bans. One of the biggest surprises comes with the Mercedes G-Class. Mercedes already confirmed that new European rules will make certain G-Class trims illegal to sell after 2026 unless they switch to hybrid or electric platforms. That's why the electric G-Class is being launched. The G-Class is one of the most iconic SUVs in history. Prices range from $140,000 to over $200,000. But regulations don't care about prestige. If it pollutes too much, it's gone. Now let's talk about safety-related bans. Starting in 2026, several countries including the US and those in the EU will implement new pedestrian safety rules. SUVs with older designs, especially those with flat grills, may not meet impact standards. This includes older Ford Explorer models, older Honda Pilot designs, older Toyota 4Runner generations, and certain Chevy Tahoe generations. While old vehicles are not banned from the road, they may be banned from future registration or from being sold new. Many of these models cost between $30,000 and $60,000, and updated versions will be needed to comply with the rules. Now let's talk about the Toyota 4Runner. This beloved SUV is facing pressure not because of emissions, but because of outdated safety regulations. Toyota has already announced a complete redesign. If the redesign had not happened, many regions would have restricted its sale by 2026. Prices for the current model range from $40,000 to $55,000. The next generation will add hybrid options because Toyota knows regulations are tightening quickly. Another SUV at risk is the Infiniti QX80. Massive luxury V8 and high emissions. Infiniti has officially confirmed the next generation will be hybrid because the current version won't meet 2026 emission rules in several markets. Prices start around $72,000 and reach over $95,000. Let's not forget diesel SUVs from BMW such as the X5 diesel and X7 diesel. These are already banned in several countries, and more bans will take place in 2026. Prices range from $70,000 to $100,000. Diesel bans are spreading faster than ever. So how serious are these bans? Very serious. Several governments have confirmed that by 2026, some SUVs cannot be registered as new vehicles. Some SUVs cannot enter major cities. Some SUVs cannot be sold due to emission rules. Some SUVs will be discontinued because companies cannot afford emission fines. If you own one of these SUVs, don't worry. You will not suddenly be banned from driving completely. But your ability to register, resell, or drive into certain areas may be limited. This is why automakers are rushing into hybrids, plug-in hybrids, and electric SUVs. They want to avoid the bans and keep their best-selling vehicles alive. Now let's go deeper into each category of bans and explain what they mean for owners. First, the emissions bans. These bans target vehicles that produce high CO2 or nitrogen oxide. You may pay extra taxes, may not be allowed to renew registration in some states, or may be unable to buy these SUVs after 2026. Second, city access bans. Many large cities, especially in Europe and Asia, will ban high-emission SUVs from entering city centers. This means you may legally own the SUV, but you cannot drive into many areas. Third, manufacturing bans. Some SUVs simply cannot meet the legal requirements, so automakers will discontinue them. This means parts may become harder to find over time. Fourth, safety regulation bans. Older SUVs with outdated crash designs may not meet 2026 safety rules, so new versions cannot be sold, but old ones can still be driven. So which SUVs are the most likely to be banned or discontinued by 2026? Jeep Grand Cherokee V8. Chevrolet Suburban 6.2. Toyota Land Cruiser diesel variants. Land Rover diesel models. Dodge Durango V8. Nissan Armada V8. BMW X5 and X7 V8. Ford Expedition gas versions. Mitsubishi Pajero Sport Diesel. Ford Bronco gas versions. Lexus LX 570 and possibly some LX 600 trims. Mercedes G-Class non-hybrid versions. Infiniti QX80 V8. Toyota 4Runner current generation. BMW diesel SUVs. Older Ford Explorer, Honda Pilot, and Chevy Tahoe generations. Prices range from the mid-$30,000s to over $200,000 depending on the model. These SUVs are either too large, too heavy, too old, too unsafe, too pollutive, or too fuel-hungry for new regulations. Now let's talk about what automakers are doing to avoid these bans. Jeep is moving to hybrid and electric platforms. Chevrolet will release an electric Suburban. Toyota is focusing on hybrid Land Cruisers. Land Rover is switching to mild hybrids and fully electric models. Ford is making hybrid Broncos and Expeditions. Nissan is redesigning the Armada as a hybrid. BMW is expanding electrified SUVs. Lexus is working on hybrid LX models. Mercedes is producing an electric G-Class. If you are planning to buy a new SUV in the next 2 years, here's what you need to know. If you want a V8 SUV, buy it soon because they are disappearing quickly. If you own a diesel SUV, expect more restrictions, especially in city areas. If you own a large SUV, expect higher taxes in some states. If you own an older SUV with poor fuel efficiency, expect resale value to drop as restrictions increase. As we approach 2026, the automotive world is changing faster than ever. Electric SUVs are becoming mainstream. Hybrid powertrains are replacing version 8s. Emission rules are tightening worldwide. And governments are determined to reduce pollution from large vehicles. This means the SUVs we grew up loving may not survive the next few years. The bans are real, they are coming, and they will affect millions of drivers. So what does this mean for you? It means stay informed, know what's happening in your state or country, and be careful when buying a new SUV. Make sure it meets future regulations or you could face restrictions later. Thank you for watching New Auto Cars. If you found this information helpful, shocking, or surprising, make sure to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications because we will continue exposing the biggest changes coming to the car industry. New SUVs, new bans, new engines, and all the updates you need as a car owner. Stay safe, stay informed, and I'll see you in the next video.